case you're a football fan, get a comment box down below and get a like and get a thumbs up.
What's up everyone, this is Scott with Team 512 and I'm back with another video. Today's a very exciting day because we're getting a major upgrade. Now you obviously know it's a Max Jacks lift from the title of this video. Let's take a look. So you can still see that it's crated and in the box here, or in the crate, and I haven't had a chance to get it out and get it in the garage. I wanted to show you a few things in the garage though before we start the actual install. Now, when you install this lift in a garage, especially in this garage, you have to consider all of the constraints before you decide which bay to put it in. If you've seen some of my past videos, you know I typically have the workbench over here. I've decided to move the workbench over there and make this the area for my tools and toolbox. You'll notice that at the end of this bay, and you've probably seen it in my videos before, we have this enormous old furnace from the 1980s that is still running and still keeping the house warm in the wintertime. So at some point I'm probably going to swap that out for a propane furnace because of another constraint. This huge oil tank that sits on this side of the garage. So when I thought about which bay to put the lift in, I either had to decide against having a furnace in my way up front or having an oil tank on the front left side of the car, obscuring my ability to get to the driver's side of the vehicle. So I went with the furnace, and so we're going to go ahead and put it on this side of the garage. Now we also have some overhead constraints on this side of the garage that we don't have over there. So if you look up here, you can see that we have some ductwork that's running above to feed the rooms of the house that are above the garage, where we don't have that on this side. So there are a couple different give and takes, right? Trade-offs with each side of the garage. I'm deciding that I'm going to put the lift here though first. And the great thing about the Max Jacks lift, or Max Jacks lift, is that it's portable. So each post or column has wheels on it. You can unbolt it from the ground and you can move it out of the way or move it to a new location. Now, one of the other things I wanted to show you before we get started with the install is positioning of the lift is very important based on the car or types of cars that you'll be working on. I'm predominantly going to have C5s up on this lift, and after doing some research, somewhere between 126 and 130 inch spacing between the columns is the most preferred. I marked the center line of this bay of the garage down here on the ground, and then I measured out 63 inches in both directions, and that gave me a spacing of 126 inches. And what I think I'm actually going to do is I'm going to steal maybe an inch or two more space in either direction to try to get closer to 128 or 130 inches apart. But if you can get it out a little bit further and you've got the space, which I do, we're not going to park another car in this side of the garage, then why not go ahead and try to get a little bit more space. I'm going to head out and break this crate down and pull all of these parts out into the garage and separate the parts and the boxes and go through the checklist and make sure I have everything before I start the install. I do have a hammer drill here and the 7/8 inch bit to drill into the concrete, and I also have the hydraulic oil and some white lithium grease that we're going to need to complete the install. Everything unpacked, bring it into the garage, and we'll get into the install. All right, so I wanted to give you an update with where I am. So if I look sweaty and hot, and yeah, that's because I am. So we had a little bit of an issue, not too big. I will say, first of all, Max Jacks customer service is on point. So don't worry. I can vouch for the customer service. The only problem is California is 5 days away from me, and they forgot to ship me the wheels for this post here. So I have one set of wheels. There are these little wheels right here. And so moving this other column post around is, well, it's a lot more difficult than this one. So, no big deal. They're gonna send me wheels out, and they're also gonna send me one of the little roller stools. Here's the posts. They're sitting in their respective positions. I'm gonna measure off about 130 degrees from the back of the mounting plate across and make sure they are 65 inches from the center line that I drew, and then make sure everything's lined up, and then we can start drilling our holes, and let's hope we have 4 inches of concrete here. All right, I'm ready to make the first hole for the column, for the post here, sorry. And it's this back one down here, right next to the fitting. And remember, we've got 5 holes to drill. I've got my eyes and ears on. I have the depth gauge on the hammer drill set at 5 inches. There's a minimum depth of 5 inches. And so yeah, let's get drilling, and I'm stuttering. Well, I'm happy to report we have at least 5 inches of concrete here. Just got done drilling the first hole, and here, I'll show you. See, there you go. So see the bottom of that hole there? There's still some dust in there. Now if I take this screwdriver, go all the way down to where that dust is, hold my finger right at the edge of the hole, and take the tape measure to my finger, there's 5 inches right there. My finger. That's concrete all the way down. So that's good news. We got at least 5 inches of concrete. So I'm gonna go ahead, drill the holes, the remaining 4 holes over here, drill the 5 holes over there. We'll put the anchors in, and then we can start on the cart and getting these hydraulic lines fitted. Let's go. All 10 holes are drilled, 5 for that post, 5 for that post. We've got it all cleaned out. I have my handy dandy depth gauge here. That's the 5-inch mark on the screwdriver. If we go down and check these holes, we're definitely below 5 inches there. So we officially have 10 holes that are between 5 and 5.5 inches. We definitely have 4 inches of concrete. Now we have to go ahead and set the anchors. Now the anchors are recessed, so the anchors aren't flush with the concrete. So when you're not using the post and you pull the bolts out, you're not tripping over the anchors. Here's what they look like. Now here's the bolt threaded in. This is how they come. And this is the anchor itself. All right, I got the first anchor in. I usually like to do things at least one time off camera before I jump on camera, so I know what to expect and give you guys some extra tips. Now this really isn't a full install video. I'm just showing you some of the process. Now I removed all the hardware from each of the anchors, and what I will do next is just demonstrate how to go about setting the anchor. All right, so I'll just walk you through the process here once, just so you can see what you do to set these anchors and to recess them. First thing you want to do is thread this sacrificial bolt, because after this process you won't really need it anymore, all the way down until it bottoms out. And then the distance between the top of the anchor and the bottom of the washer there needs to be 5/8 of an inch. That's how far you're going to recess. And right there, a little less than 1/2 an inch. More. Alright, so that's 5/8. And then what you do is just pound this down until the washer is flat to the ground. Then you tighten the nut 3 times, and apparently that's 90 foot-pounds, which is the required spec for this. So let's do it. All right, here we have our 5 holes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got our 5 anchors, and we have our sacrificial bolt here. Set distance. We'll start with this one here. Get our safety glasses on, and we'll pound it home. All right, and then I've got a 25 millimeter wrench, and I believe this is a 24 millimeter socket. And it says 3 full turns. Now that was a pretty easy turn there. Here's number 2. All right, that was a little more challenging. And this one's even more challenging. There we go. Now, that one actually felt, let's go a little further. So we just repeat this step 4 more times, and then we can move the column into place, but we're gonna have to check for plumb and level, and they give you little shims in the kit, just in case. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the next 4, and then when we're ready to plumb and level and get things tightened up, I'll hop back on. All right, so we got lucky on this post here. I don't know if you can see that bubble behind me, but it's good and level, and if we check plumb, it's pretty good. I mean, it's in a good range. Now, when we come over here and check this post, we can see it's a little out of level, and the same goes for plumb. So a couple shims, I think, on the side here will solve our issues. All right, so I just slipped in 2 of the shims underneath here, and we're now dead level and dead plumb. I'm going to tighten everything down, and then we're going to build the power unit cart and fill it up with some hydraulic oil, bleed the posts, and give this thing its first run through. All right, well, it's been quite an afternoon putting this lift together, or I should say installing this lift. I'm finally finished enough to test it out. You can probably hear my generator running right now. I need to do some electrical work tomorrow and bring in a dedicated 20 amp circuit. The circuit I have for this garage, or the 2 circuits I have for this garage, they just weren't cutting it. So I fired up the generator, and I just bled the posts, and all seems to be working. I have my daughter out here. She's really excited about it. And I'm gonna get some of this crap in the driveway out of the way. And we'll pull the Corvette in.
We'll try this stuff out and see if it works.
We'll give it a try, and hopefully everything doesn't come crashing down. So yeah, stay tuned. That is the max jack. It's maxed out in the garage, and the C5 is all the way up in the air. This is the Max Jack's M6, which has 7 different locking positions. Of course, after you get it to the level you want it, then you lower it down onto the lock, and there you go. You know, I was really concerned that I wasn't going to be able to get the car up all the way because of some of the clearance issues here. I definitely won't be able to open the garage door. I don't think. No, I definitely won't be able to do that. It does look like I can keep the garage door down and get the car up all the way, as you can see. Now, a couple observations. Number one, I hate this furnace. This thing is just in the way. I can't get through here. The cart is, you know, in the way there. It's a non-optimal setup. In terms of the lift itself, man, these posts are really beefy. I have some hockey pucks underneath for jacking pucks. So now one of the things that you have to do in order to get this to work is you have to drive it up on some 2x10s in order to get the clearance for the lift arms. That's kind of a bummer. It just adds another you know, adds another level or thing to do before you lift it. I'm gonna leave it sit here for a little while. Actually, I'll probably lower it down a little bit, leave it sit for a little while, resting on the lift, and make sure it stays stable. But what do you think, Rye?
I think it's pretty good. It's nice and high. I'm a little taller than it, but it's walkable under.
Liz, what do you think?
I love it. It's very nice, and it's nice for me and Daddy to work on the cars now.
So guys, like on our next video maybe, we might start to take off from this left to take off all that blue stuff that's under here, and it doesn't really on the other side.
Till next time.
Yeah, see ya.